Good morning, folks. Brother Craig here. Welcome to a very short video here. Today is the 80th anniversary of the Japanese attack on America at Pearl Harbor. And I want to share a little bit with you about not so much the details of that specific attack, but the fact that the 80th anniversary is an appropriate time to speak again, as I have many times, on the fact that every 80 years, which equals 4 generations, every 80 years or so, every 4 generations, these two sides they fight. Okay, and so it was so obvious 80 years ago with World War II, the greatest generation, the things that were done. There were bombs, battleships, aircraft carriers, airplanes, and it ended with nuclear bombs that brought that war to an end. And here, 80 years later, it's not so obvious, and so there's this need to constantly share that every 80 years, in which helps us get prepared, okay, and not to be caught unawares. And so it's 2021, 80 years after 1941. Let's do some quick math here. You go another 80 years back beyond 1941. It's 1861, the American Civil War. You go another 80 years back, and it's 1781. Just 1 hour east of here is Yorktown, Virginia. And the final battle of the American Civil War was won that year, marking the end of the American Civil War. Now, I know that it took them a while to get the paperwork done, and the treaty was signed in 83, okay, but the war was over in 81, okay, and so 1781 plus 80, 1861. So what's going on? It's a battle between liberty and tyranny, a battle between the individual being free and the government being the servant of the individual versus the individual being the serf of the government. Okay? And so the British wanted the American citizens to be subjects, not citizens, to be subjects, okay? And so you had 1/3 wanted to maintain that because they had financial benefit. Remember that phrase, okay? Financial benefit. So 1/3 were fighting with England, 1/3 were fighting with George Washington and the Patriots, and 1/3 didn't care or were sitting on the sidelines waiting to see which way the wind blew. In any event, 1/3 were not active. 2/3 were active. And you always have that same dynamic, okay? Freedom, tyranny, it's like electricity, okay? You have 3 prongs on your plug. You have a positive, a negative, and a neutral, okay? And you're going to always have that, okay? And so you go 80 years beyond that, where America is fighting not only an outside enemy, England, but America is fighting itself, over this issue. Do we have self-rule? Are we free individuals because our freedom comes as a gift from God? Or are the limits of our freedoms going to be prescribed by people in the government? Okay, so the nation gets started. It gets started great. Again, 80 years later is 1861, the Civil War. And what are we doing? We're fighting ourselves again, okay? Where previously we were fighting an external enemy, England, plus fighting each other. In the American Civil War, there was no external enemy. We were just fighting each other, okay? But what was the issue? The issue was the same. It was freedom. It's just like in 1941, and it's just like in 2021. The issue is freedom. Okay, are we free people, or are we serfs? Okay, and so the the idea of freedom got extended to all Americans. All right. So a war had to be fought for that to happen. And so that war was fought. Freedom was extended. All right. And 80 years into the future, we're fighting over freedom again. Okay. And it's just like in the Revolutionary War and just like in the Civil War, except this time it was worldwide. It was not contained to the United States of America. But the issue was the same. Okay. You had, and again, in encompassing the world, you had 1/3 fought for freedom, 1/3 fought for tyranny, and 1/3 were sitting on the sidelines waiting. Okay. So now it's 2021 and the issue is the same. And I won't get into the details of Pearl Harbor. There are many people much more qualified than I am to share with you all the details, the great heroism of what we lovingly refer to as the greatest generation. And so I'll leave that to others. But the big picture is that it was freedom, and it's a first generation, and the cycle begins again. All right. Build up, maintain, attack, destroy. Okay. And so you ask yourself, wow, well, why would a generation attack and then destroy? Because when that generation gets born, like in our case, it's the baby boom generation. By the time they got born, the hard battles were over. And to them, life was just great. And they could not figure out why their parents and grandparents were such hard people. Okay? Because they had been through such hard times. And it was their hardness that made the lives of the baby boomers easy. Okay? An easy life doesn't just happen. Tough, hard people create conditions of ease. And then people who are born in conditions of ease, they take that for granted. And so then they can't understand, why is life not perfect? Why is your attitude hard? And so they nitpick the imperfections, blame it on the hardness, and then they attack that society. And then their children come along and see them attacking, they're leading the attack. Then the children come along, they destroy. And that's what we're living through in 2021. We're living through a destruction of the old order that was created from the greatest generation and who survived the Great Depression and World War II. And it's just like that era had been built up. Many of you may not know, but after the Civil War was over, the next generation, it was called the Gilded Age. Okay, because the nation just took off. Okay, the nation just took off, and so there were universities being built, there were hospitals being built, there were multimillionaires who were just donating money, giving money away, doing great things, and so the cycle just got to repeat itself, where a generation built up, their children, they maintained it. Then their children, they attacked it because they didn't understand, having been born after all of the hardship was over. And then their children destroyed it. Okay. And so here we are in 2021. And what is going to happen? What side is going to win? Now let's examine the previous three. All right. In the American Revolution, freedom won out. All right. And so the idea of kings and queens and dukes and all this, having sway over the United States of America, that came to an end. All right. And so then 4 generations later in the Civil War, freedom won out again. And the idea that people could own other people, that went away. All right. And so then 4 generations, freedom won again. All right. Hitler, Hirohito, Mussolini, they all went away. All right. And so now here we are again in 2021. And so my little talk today is not so much about history, but it's about today and what side is going to win today. And I have a question for you. who are viewing, and I'm asking you this of not only of yourself, but think about people, particularly public people, okay? If these public people who have influence that goes beyond themselves, all right? If they were born rather than in our era, but if they were born in Germany in the Nazi era, what would these people be? Would they be Nazis or would they be freedom fighters? All right? Would they have put Jews on train cars or would they have hidden Jews in their attics and basements? What these people today, or if they had been alive during the Civil War era, would they have been slave owners or would they have been conductors of the Underground Railroad? Or had these people been born in the era of the Revolutionary War, would they have fought to maintain their economic ties to Great Britain, thus fighting George Washington and the founding fathers? Or would they have been one of those founding fathers who declared, hey guys, we better hang together and pull this thing out, because if we lose, most assuredly, we will hang individually, all right? Because they put their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor on the line. But not all Americans did that. Just as many Americans fought with England as fought against England. So where would these people stand? You as individuals out there, where would you stand? It's easy to say today where you would stand because we know history. But had you been born in history, what decision would you have made? Okay? And a clue would be the decisions you make today. All right? And so today we have a government that, wants to have lockdown mandates over a virus that, like particularly with this latest version, where they say, it originated over down in South Africa. And the South Africans say it's like you caught a cold. Very mild symptoms for 2 days, then it's over. Not one death, not one hospitalization. But this is supposedly an excuse to lock down the world again in Europe and America. Okay? And so this is just a dry run for world domination by people that run the government and people that see themselves as being apparatchiks of the government and being more equal than others, as George Orwell wrote. Everybody's equal, but some people are more equal than others. Okay, so just ask yourself, where would you stand if you were living then? And so I say that the weapons of war may change, but the reasons for war do not change. And it is always, there are some people that want to have power and dominance over other people. And when people get sick and tired of that and they want to fight back, you have a thing called war. Okay? And so this notion that war is useless, that statement is useless. Because as long as you have tyrants, tyrannical people, whether they're individuals or whether they're small groups or whether they're nations, okay? As long as you have people that have a lust for power over other people, and as long as you have people that are toting a set of onions and want to fight back, as long as that is the condition of humanity, you are going to have war, okay? You are going, and Reagan said it very aptly, that to have peace, all the good people have to do is lay down and just let the evil people rule over them, and they can live without war in a state of serfdom, okay? But he also asked, is peace and absence of war, is that so sweet? Is that so desirable that it's worth being a slave? I say no, it is not. And there are many people all around the world that are saying no, just like the World War II generation said no, just like the Civil War generation said no, and just like the founding fathers said no. Today, I say no. And I'm asking you, what do you say? And I really appreciate you all watching this video. This is a short one. As you can tell, I'm driving around. And I ask you to please share this video because we are we are right back at that. There may not be aircraft carriers and planes and bombs falling, but certainly there is an attitude of war. The weapons of war have just grown from a musket ball that you had to chunk the ball down into the gunpowder. Then you had individual bullets in the Civil War era. Then you had aircraft carriers and whatnot. Massive destructive weapons in World War II. And the weapons today they are Google, they are Facebook, they are viruses, they are information, they are economic pressures. Okay. But it is war nonetheless. And we need to stand fast. We need to understand that we are at war. And we need to win this war for our children and grandchildren, just like my grandparents' generation won the war for us. God bless you out there. And I just pray that the Lord would bless you and keep you, that the Lord would make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you, and that the Lord would lift his countenance up upon you and give you peace, each and every one of you under the sound of my voice. God bless you, folks, and I will see you all next time.